Well, and you bring up a good point. It's like the people say, I will not comply, but you did already. You're registered into the system, and they administrate that fiction. So you already complied. You have to be separate to say, I will not comply. You have to come out of this corporate structure and come back into the true republic. I'm going back to Washington again because we have to ask ourselves this question. How many are there, and to what gods are they honoring that are erected all over Washington, D.C.? Every government building.
If anybody believes that, I feel bad for you. Welcome to Geisinger Unfiltered. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for putting your comments below, liking, sharing, getting this out to as many as possible. I think we're on all the platforms. Just search Geisinger Unfiltered and we're going to be there. We have an awesome episode today and an awesome guest in Geisinger Unfiltered Studios, the Randy Conway, poet, activist, brilliant mind extraordinaire. Randy, welcome to Geisinger Unfiltered. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, and it is just so great to be here sitting across from you, Darrin. This is exciting.
I don't know about the great sitting across from me part, but studio is pretty cool. And it's nice to have you in here, Randy. We were talking about the passage of time, and we were trying to discover our friendship origin, and we almost couldn't do it. We're not sure. It's murky. It goes way back, though.
It goes way back.
I'm going to guess it had to be somewhere around 2015 something, because if the True Legends Conference is in Branson, Missouri, and I mentioned them on the show here many times, huge 3,000 person sold out events 3 years in a row in Branson, Missouri that I was putting on. Well, tell the memory. So there's 3,000 in attendance at the Mansion Theater in Branson. And what was the memory that I had? Did we think of last minute to have you do something, or?
Well, actually, yeah, there was. If you go to Randy Conway poems on YouTube or Rumble, and the ones on Rumble are the ones YouTube took down.
Okay, so Randy Conway poems. We'll put the link. Below. Okay.
At the True Legends Conference, just prior to a panel that met on stage and was speaking, it was Steve Quayle and I don't remember, about 3 or 4 other gentlemen that created this panel. One of my poetry videos played to introduce them.
Oh, I see. Okay, yes, it's all coming back now. I remember that now. That was powerful, man. People were rocked by that. So Randy you got books that are on Amazon as well. That's the book of the poems, and Randy puts out a lot of content, and they're activist, spiritual. How would you describe your poetry for someone who is not familiar?
You'll never see it on a Hallmark card.
No, because it's describing the state of things. Yes, our last episode, we kind of went over the state of things, and it's not always cheery to reveal the truth. So
I try to peer down through the overlay that's been placed over our lives, over this entire earth, over our government, over your home, over truth. There is the devil's overlay over all of it.
The malaise that keeps people from seeing
the truth.
Seeing the truth.
And I try to poke holes in that and let some truth out.
Some people call it the matrix, escaping the matrix, escaping. But you often refer to it as escaping Babylon, don't you? And what does that, I mean, I don't know and we have a large different variety of people who join us. What does that term mean to people? But what does Babylon mean to you?
Well, Darrin, originally it meant the same thing it did to every person that attended church, all their life, and you hear these verses, and come out of her, my people, and Babylon and Mystery Babylon, and thousands upon thousands of books written about what Mystery Babylon is. And finally came down to me as I looked at the world and looked at the descriptive nature of our enemy as described in the scripture, and seeing that world governments around the world, across the earth, for my other friends.
Those friends, yes.
So across the earth, all of these governments have these same characteristics, and they are the characteristics of Babylon, and the very thing that God from the very beginning kept telling his people to be separate from. And I found that it fit this the idea of the enemy comes to what but to kill, to steal, and destroy. and I start looking at all of these governing agencies, and we can go down to counties, municipalities, states, countries, all the regimes. They're connected via contract. We hear terms like NATO. We hear terms like The Hague. There's all these international
But those are the huge ones. But you're saying even local municipalities. Didn't you and I, and I've heard you, give talks many a times, is that even the courtrooms in the smallest of communities have certain flags that they have behind them that mean
different things.
Yes,
sure.
and people do not know what these flags mean, but it's of the secret contract that they have with what? It's not with Lucifer, or what is this?
Well,
is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, well, we're right to it.
We're going
Thanks for
unfiltered.
tuning in
That's
today.
absolutely the root of it all. But
Lucifer.
you look at these government agencies and the IGOs and the NGOs and how many agencies are redundant, and what do they do? Do they kill? Does the corporation that provides government services from the capital of your country, would you say it kills? Do we have agencies that are assigned
To kill?
to kill?
Yes.
And we have a certain three-letter agencies that we may or may not get into today that will steal your first fruits as soon as you get your paycheck from whatever you are doing to support your family. You can't even give your first fruits to our King, to the Lord.
Or your family, because they're taking them.
Taken.
Yes, I mean, that's the interesting title of Geisinger Unfiltered. Are we truly unfiltered? Well, I'm going to come up with a subscription service working on the website right now where we can really, really say everything that we want. And so that's coming, and I'll make sure that the content is worthy of people's subscription fee. So I will certainly have you back on you can just let it all loose there. It's unfortunate that we gosh, have you seen what's been happening in UK? And they're arresting people in the middle of the night for speech, and we can get taken down if we have to say certain words.
So, Darrin, are they destroying those lives? Are they destroying families? Are they destroying businesses? To kill, steal, and destroy, those are not the attributes of our King.
No.
In fact, there was a governing agency. We call them the Sanhedrin. The teachers of the law, the lawyers, the scribes, the Pharisees,
right.
that bunch, and Jesus is interacting with them. And he actually tells them, he said, "You're of your father the devil, who was a liar and a murderer from the beginning." So lying, murdering, killing, stealing, destroying, all these are attributes of an enemy who has created this overlay so that you can't see the lying and murdering and killing and stealing and destroying. You'll only see the government benefits that they want you to see. Oh, well, there's this program. If you do this, there's this program.
The sleight of hand, look over here while we're really doing all this. So, Randy, you're talking about the Sanhedrin is a representative of that all the way to today's 4-letter agencies. And the world is now, we're in the Matrix, right? So when did you're trying to get people out of the Matrix. I mean, you've seen the movie where Morpheus and his team get Neo out. And I really do think that's an accurate analogy for what you do. I've been at your meetings and I've taken a lot of your advice as much as my feeble brain can manage. But when did you get this passion? When did you discover maybe how did Morpheus? Are you Morpheus? That's cool. So when did Morpheus get out of the Matrix? So he must have at some point, and then he saw what it was, and then decided to try to start getting people out. What's your origin story? When did you see the Matrix, at the end, Neo can see it as ones and zeros or whatever, and he understands what it is. Obviously, you now see it. I've heard your talks. When did that happen? How did you see behind the wizard behind the curtain?
God has a way of moving you to the left or the right, pushing you forward or pulling you back, just so you're going to see what he intends for you to see. My wife and I were like many others, like yourself. We're in the corporate world. We're in business. We've got a successful business. We're living the American
dream.
Can you call it a dream? I think it became a nightmare. But
it's becoming that, yes.
Anyway, we're atypical, and we left a business. We walked out the door with barely the shirts on our back, and we began an in-depth search to find out what God would have us do. Because I've been 33 years in this business. And we went 13 years in another business. And we're searching and looking. And I came across some patriot groups. And some of the things they were saying just kind of rang true with me. So I began to delve into some of the patriot groups, became involved in one. It was a very large one. I held a position in that. But, they had great discovery, good history, the history that's been hidden from us our entire lives, not history you're going to get in any classroom.
Ooh, hidden history. That's a big thing on Geisinger Unfiltered. Yes. I mean, you got people all the way up to the great Sean Edwards now with the podcast who says he doesn't believe in anything anymore. Everything's been hidden. It's all sleight of hand. It's all the Matrix. They've rewritten history. Yeah, so go ahead.
So I began to see the fault in the patriot movements. And I'll just tell you, they're good people knowing something's wrong, trying to do something right, but state nationals is defined by the corporation. Christian nationals are defined by the corporation. The Moors have an individual treaty that you're not a part of. There's so many things that they had right in their discovery and history, but their solutions were getting people in trouble. And we ended up separating ourselves from that.
So if someone's tuning in today, and it's unfortunate that it's such a great word, the patriot, that word, is actually associated, if people have some experience with it, there's something called patriot groups who mean well, but you're saying that you investigated and were a part of them and saw the flaws in their thinking. So
and they are true patriots. I won't take that away from them at all.
They're trying.
But the solutions were not biblical solutions. They were trying to get, and this goes back to your original question, the entire governing system everywhere is a Babylonian system. To me, that's Babylon. So when I refer to Babylon, I'm referring to a world system, whether I'm in the USA, Canada, Asia, Africa, it doesn't matter. It's a world system. And they were trying to get Babylon to fix Babylon. Let's get the right person elected. Well, how many elections have we had and has it gotten fixed yet? And what's the definition of insanity to do the same thing over and over again and expect better results?
Okay.
People are going to jail because they don't get procedures right. Everything is about procedure in the courts and in government, procedurally or statutorily. And then I found out there's a biblical standard for it. He says, come out of it. Be separate. That has become my message. How do we separate from this system so that we can still remain in the world, not of the world? We can still remain at a position where, as much as it is possible for me, I remain at peace with my brother, and I have to go to the Word of God to define who is my brother. In Babylon gets to define the terms. You may say, well, I'm this or I'm that or I'm this, or you can't do this because the statute says this. If you look into the definitions, literally even in the courtroom, and the Bible says, hey, you better settle the matter before you get to court because the magistrate may throw you in jail. That's just
pointing to that the system is corrupt. So just try to take care of it before you're involved in the system. So to set people where we're at, they're tuning in today. They might have whatever creative headline we give it to get them to bring attention to this episode. We'll say it in a good way. That you're saying that there's people out there who want to see the problem with the system, see the Babylonian, come out and be separate, but they're not Amish, but they want to, I guess, do what Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel not want to eat the king's food and to try to be separate through that ordeal so they can still be blessed by God and obey what God tells us to do. So what should they do next if they're in an apartment building somewhere and they don't know how to escape Babylon?
Okay. Let me give you a couple of examples. Good question. How do we escape Babylon? How do we get out of the system? And why are these people getting in trouble that know that, hey, there's a problem, let's fix it? Why are they getting in trouble? Let's take something very simple, your automobile. Now, you've probably seen the YouTubes out there and people, what to say when you get pulled over and I don't answer questions and all this stuff.
Don't answer questions. Yeah. You don't roll the window all the way down. You only roll it down. That makes the officer very mad.
Let's put him on the defensive. right off the bat, right? Let's
Yes.
make him angry before he even talks
Yes,
to me.
name and badge number, please. And then
Right.
he'll tell it to you. Why aren't you rolling your window down? Yes, people have seen those
they
YouTube
have done
videos.
some discovery and realized there are certain things that are protected by the Constitution. There are certain things that they literally have a right to do, except they don't know that they no longer have that right because there is a corporation providing government services, and a corporation can't deal with the flesh and blood, so they created a little corporation out of you. A little organization, and it's defined by the all caps name on your birth record.
All caps name. That's important, listeners. Yes, your
And
all
so-
caps entity is they create this.
corporation.
And when you're born, they create this. You get your social security number and you get this all caps.
Yeah, actually,
name.
if you look on your birth record, your birth certificate, there'll be a date on there that you were born and a date you were registered. And that's where I'm going. So now we're in the car. My car is registered where? To the state. This officer, and by the way, once I registered my vehicle to the state, I agreed to be in a contract with the state, and part of that contract is that I have a driver's license, I obey the statutes and the speed laws, and I have to have certain documents in my vehicle, insurance and registration. So I registered it and I agreed to a contract. Once I agreed to that contract, this is a policy officer that's looking to see if I am abiding by that contract. And what we end up doing, Darrin, we end up commingling God's word with Babylon, ideals with the overlay. We can't commingle those. They don't mix together. It's iron and clay.
So people are making this mistake. They're in the car. They've seen some of these videos and they're trying to give the officer their comeuppance, and they don't realize they have signed a contract to register their vehicle. They're part of they're traded in the stock market even. Their
Before
entity.
we get there, though, let's talk about how these people are trying to accomplish. You have to unregister the vehicle. There are ways and means. We're not going to tell that here. There are statutes that allow you to do that.
Legal ones. See, everybody's raising their eyebrows at home saying legal ones, the ones I won't get in trouble for.
Exactly. There are ways. It's within the statutes. It's within the system. There are ways and means there. There's just 68 million laws, codes, regulations for you to weed through to find out.
And you have done that. And so we're not, on Geisinger Unfiltered, we're not going to have people in willy-nilly that are going to get people in trouble. I can just look at the camera. I'm just going to say, this gentleman sitting here, Randy Conway, has weeded out the nonsense and that which gets people in trouble. And he's sticking with fact and tried and true methods that are fully legal, not getting anybody in trouble to come out of Babylon.
Correct. In fact, there's a group of men that got together after this Patriot group I told you about splintered. Now, that was a waste of time. What do we do now? And several men got together. I was literally driving 12 hours every month just to attend meetings and get more education and learning. But the thing is, you're registered into the system on your birth record, just like my car was registered into the system. There are ways and means to unregister. And if you try to say you can't, we want to play like we're MC Hammer, can't touch this. Yeah, they can because they own it. They absolutely own it. You are owned. You are traded on the New York Stock Exchange. You are part of human labor trafficking. You have to. People say, well, taxes is an unconstitutional. IRS or the income tax is unconstitutional. Well, yeah, it is. But you are under contract. You are owned. You are part of the system, an asset to the system. Your children are assets. Your home is an asset. Your automobile is an asset. Your flesh and blood is an asset. And people can still find this. It hasn't been taken down yet. But if you go online and look for the Edward Mandel House letter,
Edward Mandel House letter.
Colonel Edward Mandel House. He was part of the activities on Jekyll Island. He was a foreign policy advisor to Woodrow Wilson, and he literally wrote a letter to Woodrow Wilson explaining how they could fund government by owning the biological property of every person in the United States. And we're living under that now.
Carter, make sure you put the image from the Matrix of those pink pods, You know, have you ever seen that where all those people are hooked up? So this is what he's saying. Can we? Yeah, we'll control by owning people.
Sure, and you get to control what you own. They have an administrative right. What we're teaching people is how to, first step, take that administrative right away from the system and hold it in your house. Well, you say, what do you mean hold it in my house? Joshua said, as for me and my house, he made a declaration, and we'll teach you how to do qualifications and declarations for your house and establish a private administrative process in your house so you become a legislator. But you can't do those things if you're still owned. Once you have said, I will administrate this fiction that you created, it's like, hello, I didn't ask you to create this fiction, but you did. And so rather than you administrating it, I think I'll administrate it. That's how we're going to become separate, because becoming separate is throughout the Old and New Testament. Over and over and over and over that we're to be separate. God separated Abram from his family and said, you're going to go to a place I'm going to show you.
If people are already, I don't mean to cut you up, but if people are already saying, you said we'll teach you how, so that might have spurred somebody, well, wait, what do you mean? So it's c2kreport.com. Okay, so C2K, we'll put the link down, but so down below this episode with more, we'll make sure we put C2K report. If people go on that, is it very clear to see the next step and what to do? I designed the C2K report logo. I did that.
Yes, you did.
I have other talents. And my good friend John Fraser helped with design the website. But so for people out there, we'll give them a link. And if they are curious, this is where they go to get the next step. C2kreport.com.
C2kreport.com. And like you said, John, that designed the website, put this great little radio button on there that says start here.
Right.
That's
okay.
a really good place to start.
Start there. Okay. So once you go to c2kreport.com, go there. And Randy is a great teacher of men. I will say I have sat in many a room where you have been at the front of the room and you are a great teacher. And that carries over to the C2K report. It's not hard to follow. You'll make it easy.
Well, thank you very much for that. I hope I live up to that.
Okay.
But let's continue.
Yeah.
There's more than just the c2kreport.com. There are meetings all across the United States online. You see, God has granted us certain blessings in that we own all of our own servers in what is now referred to as the Holy Nation of God. That came from the C2K Report podcast. We did not start the C2K Report podcast with an intent to do that. We were just going to podcast like you are doing. Hey, let's reveal what's going on in this political realm. Let's reveal what's going on in this overlay and that you're owned. Well, then as people began to come on board, well, we need education. We have free classes. We have legislative classes, all available through the c2kreport.com. Those servers, we don't rent server space. Those classes are taught on a platform that one of the men who is on the council of the Holy Nation is a computer engineer, and in computers, he's written software for like pacemakers and all his life. So
these servers are safe. So if people go on there and they want to register with you, give you their email and get more information, people can be assured everything is completely secure.
Secure, and it has grown from this podcast, Darrin, to all these teaching outlets. There is a website called shopyourfarm.com. Anybody can go to it.
Okay, yeah.
$12 a year to become a member of shopyourfarm.com.
And everybody can communicate and through this organization, and it's outside of the matrix looking
Correct.
at you. You can do this.
And it's like a Zoom call to use something that people are familiar with. So there are video calls, there's video conferencing going on every day of the week. So people are learning, and they're coming out of Babylon, as according to the scripture, come out of her, my people, says the Bible. And all the way through the scripture, we see this separation. In fact, the Bible says that it is the man with understanding that will separate himself from the other peoples in the land. It is the man who does God's will. He says, so that you will do God's will, separate yourself. I believe that's in either Ezekiel or Nehemiah. But that is God's will, that we're separate. It's been his contention and intention from the beginning, Adam and Eve were separated from everyone else in the garden, but they end up getting under this contract with Satan, and they get separated from the garden. But being separate is what we are all about. That's how you move through this matrix without going to jail, without having people following you, because you're going to do it through a position of, I am no longer owned by you. I am separate from you. You will be responsible. They will test you to see, do you know what you've done? Do you have an understanding of what you've done?
Because if you don't know your rights, then they're going to rake you over the coals. And so to reset, again, I don't think I do that as much as I have ever had with this episode. I want to keep resetting us to make sure everybody knows where we're at. So if someone's listening out there, and just like in the Matrix, I think Trinity tells Neo when he's still in it, she's like, something isn't right. You just don't know what it is. So the people out there listening, they know that they need to be separate, and they want to make sure they're not into a bunch of nonsense that's going to get them in trouble. So this is where it's a loving community of moral people who want to be in God's system and not in Lucifer's systems or the Babylonian system. But also a community, we often talk about there's a time of trouble coming, Randy. You and I agree. We've read the end of the book. There's going to be a system that, they're doing it in the UK right now with digital ID, that you can't work without this digital ID. Well, this is just their precursor to the eventual system of the beast, quote unquote, where it's going to be a one world system of control that unless you are in it, you are not going to be able to buy, sell, what they're buying, what they're selling you, right? So you're going to have your own community, your own support system. If you're going to say, whenever this is, which we're all paying attention, when is that line in the sand to say, nope, I'm not going to have, this version of the cell phone, this version of the digital ID. I guess I won't be buying and selling because this is the line that my community talked about, and we're out. But now we have each other. I'm not just going to be a lone wolf somewhere in my own one cave hoping to make it. This is C2K report, and what you're talking about is a community of like-minded people, so you have each other when the time of trouble comes.
And it's even more than a community. We're an ecclesia. And if you look at the ancient definition of ecclesia in Greek, it's a governing body. So we're going to be separate from the governing body that has been being built since Eden. There were a few resets along the way, Tower of Babel, the flood, different things.
The mud floods?
Well, the mud floods too, absolutely.
Check out our first episode on Tartaria and the mud floods. That was a reset.
The crucifixion of Christ, another reset. But this system has never stopped building. And what you just described, I truly believe, has been being built from the beginning. I think it's been functioning and operating for a very, very long time. Just do a Google search for how many IGOs there are. That's not a term most people hear of.
What is an IGO?
An NGO is a non-governmental organization that's in contract with the government. An IGO is an international government organization. There's a lot of them. Everything is under contract and agreement and treaty, so that there's really nothing that happens by accident. There are dark rooms, smoke-filled, where deals are made. We say that tongue-in-cheek kind of, but that's a true statement, and it's been that way for a very, very long time, especially if you look into Jekyll Island. And every time I look into something like the history of Jekyll Island, there comes out a spiritual portion, a spiritual partition to that. Literally, the meeting on Jekyll Island was done over an ancient blood altar. Yeah. There's always a spiritual connotation to it. Over and over and over. It's a spiritual war. We're in a clash of two kingdoms. By the way, that's what C2K report stands for.
Thank you for bringing that up. C2K, we're a clash of two kingdoms.
A clash of two kingdoms. There's only two.
Them and us.
Them and us. And if you are commingled with them, what is the history that is written for us? Not just in the canon. There's a lot of history to be found. But when people commingle their kingship, their fealty Yes, I am a child of God, and I believe in Jesus Christ, and I'm a Christian. And at the very same time, while they're speaking this, they are registered into and in contract with this system. It's like trying to pledge fealty to two kings. You can't do that. You can only serve one master. But what has happened in history, every time the Hebrew nation, which, by the way, was the very first republic, and they put out the pattern, and there's statutes, ordinances, laws. It's all there for you to use. It's all written. Every time they commingled, they ended up being ruled by their adversaries. Every time. And if we commingle with this system that we're trying to come out of, or if we're trying to fix this system that kills, steals, and destroys and is a liar and a murderer from the beginning, if we are thinking, well, if I just get the... And I'm not opposed to, Darrin, those who think God has called them into that system to be a light, but you better be really sure of your calling, because this system is not God's system. It is not. People want to claim we're a Christian nation. Christian nations don't kill, steal, and destroy. I'm sorry. I can't go there. That is trying to put attributes on God that are not his.
Well, there's a lot of evidence that suggests that the Statue of Liberty is Lucifer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that shows you kind of what they have in mind for, I think, and some people say that Mystery Babylon, you said there's been 1,000 books written about that. We just had a kind of an episode on the state of things where we just talk about that New York having the first Muslim mayor there, 30 some years old. How does this even happen? I don't trust that system. That person is in place. But anyway, to bring down New York, bring down the Mystery Babylon is supposed to fall in 1 hour, and the merchants of the world will weep because we can no longer buy their goods. And they put the statue of Lucifer right there to show that this will be the linchpin that they pull to collapse the system so they can introduce the new digital ID, the new CBDCs, the system of control, that if we're not doing what you're talking about by getting out of them as much as we possibly can and not being in the system, when these things go down, it's just too late. You better get out now with as much resources as you can. Go ahead.
In my own opinion, the mystery of Mystery Babylon is the fact that you can't pinpoint it to this locale, that locale. This is the city where it's going to all come to. It is a world system. And when that pin is pulled, you're right. But even as you mentioned, the Statue of Liberty in New York, what's in Washington, D.C.? How many ancient gods are
the apotheosis of George Washington? People don't want to get into that the dome of the Capitol building.
Oh, yeah.
What the Washington Monument and the dome actually represents, and amazing where else those things are around the world. And it's like, oh, well, Washington, D.C., if you look at it, all the major intersections form a pentagram too, right?
Oh, yeah.
On and on and on. And the owl and all of it's just, wow. Yeah, people think, I love this country. I love that I was born here. I don't think I would choose a different one. It's like Trump. It's the best of the worst. Yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. But that's what we're trying to do, though, with these shows is educate and keep fighting against the system. Because if we're going to fight but not go to jail, how do we do it? Well, we get on here and I talk to brilliant people like yourself that we can peacefully resist and take tangible steps. Instead of just yelling at the police officer who's pulled you over and getting thrown into jail because you've misinterpreted what it means to be a patriot. No, let's do the real, logical, good stuff that's legal and we should be doing.
Well, and you bring up a good point. It's like the people say, I will not comply, but you did already. You're registered into the system and they administrate that fiction. So you already complied. You have to be separate to say, I will not comply. You have to come out of this corporate structure and come back into the true republic. And I'm going back to Washington again because we have to ask ourselves this question. How many are there and to what gods are they honoring that are erected all over Washington, D.C.? Every government building.
Yeah, and this is where they get their power from, and these entities There might be represented by certain things, but they're invisible entities, dark powers in high places that reward
yes.
them. Literally, they do reward them
Yes,
for
they
some of
do.
these. I'm sure that the child sacrifice stuff that we don't even, it's just so devastating to think about. Literally, that's been happening since the biblical times too. Moloch and Baal and all that kind of stuff. Why? I don't even how that works, but they do get power from these entities to keep them in power, and they don't want to lose their power structure, and
Oh no! And since this is unfiltered,
as much
and
as we can.
and you brought that up, because of what I have become involved in and the learning I've become involved in, I've had several former victims of the Montauk chair in Montauk, New York, SRA victims, programmed individuals, and because they were owned, nobody did anything illegal or wrong to these victims. But I've been helping them come out of that system to take ownership away from that system so that they can no longer be
the Montauk
treated.
projects. I know some about that. That'll have to be a Geisinger Unfiltered episode, and I don't even really want to look at it. It's so disturbing, and what they have done to people, how they can rationalize that, I have no idea. But okay, again, people, if they're curious, we're going to leave out certain steps here today to keep the episode viable and up on the platforms. But if they go to c2kreport.com, get started, that they're going to see tangible steps that they can take to get out of Babylon as much as possible. Like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and Daniel saying, we're not going to eat the king's food. We're going to remain separate as much as we can. And the rest of Nebuchadnezzar's seers couldn't interpret his dream, right? But because if Daniel had started to partake about all that stuff when it came time, he might not have been, right? So we have to remain pure so that we keep the line of communication, spiritual line of communication, pure and going, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And being separate is the key. But just because you announce the fact that I'm not of that, you were already registered. You're already in contract. Everything is by contract. We have to break down the old contracts. We have to get out of the old contracts. We have to pay the old contracts. Think of it this way even. If your birth record, you don't own it, it's a certificate. You have a certificate of live birth. The certificate says that there is an actual document. I'm certifying that there's an actual document, but you don't have it. I have a certificate of title for my car, certifying that there's a title, but I don't have it. The state does. Always the state does. That's a little word play. So,
but people are going to start to envision they have to go be Amish people and live on a hillside and eat root vegetables for the rest of their life and shear sheep in the middle of nowhere.
Because the Amish are in contract. Okay. Now, many of them are not, and they were not originally, but as time has passed, they have found themselves in contract. My daughter puts it this way. She says, Dad, I am done contracting with Babylon for worthless treasure. What little benefit can I get because I contract? Well, if you enroll in this program, you can get this little benefit. If you enroll in this program, you can get this. I'm done contracting with Babylon for worthless treasure. I'm going to contract with the king where the treasure cannot rust, be stolen. It's not destroyed. It's eternal.
So, and I have been to Randy Conway's home. It's a beautiful log cabin-ish type thing. Full electricity, water. So if people are thinking out there that you're living in a hut to stay out, no, it's not about that. You have a beautiful home. Robin is your lovely wife. Carly is your little dog. And she's quite the interesting little thing. And so I just want people to understand you're driving a beautiful pickup truck. You're not sequestering yourself, quarantining yourself from society and accomplishing all of this.
Correct. Because not every contract is a bad contract. But do we read the contracts? Do we know what's in them?
I never read.
Do we know what we've agreed to?
No, yeah. When people scroll all the way to the bottom and you just hit accept. Is there anybody out there that actually reads that stuff? But that's how they get you, right? For cell phones, just taking that as an example, is they give themselves the right to spy on you and report everything all the time. And no one's ever going to read all those details because everybody's doing it, right? Everybody has a cell phone. But if there was a quarter or 40% of all people who didn't because they're all alarmed about this stuff, but everybody gives in and does it, so then I'm going to too, which is the system of the beast is going to be the same way. You can't eat, buy, or sell or in the system So everybody, quote unquote, will be doing it, but somebody's not.
Well, and what you're talking about is adhesion contracts. Take it or leave it. If you want to use that cell phone, you'll click accept. If you want to use that website, you'll click accept. Other contracts are negotiable. And you can say, well, for instance, contracts with the IRS often are negotiable. So you, as the overseer of your house, remember Joshua said, as for me and my house, you're going to take that position and be the overseer of your house, the legislator of your house, and you're going to determine this is beneficial for my house. It's okay. It doesn't put me at odds with my king, Jesus. It's like the disciples when they stood before the magistrate and they said, you're going to quit preaching in Jesus' name. They said, we must obey God rather than men. You will have that line in the sand, but not every contract is that line in the sand. It takes discernment, but we have to understand the system that you just described. You're correct. It is going to come in a day, and we don't want to be a part of it, or what does the Bible say? We're going to suffer of her plagues. The Bible also warns that if we're part of it, we're going to participate with her. Oh, is that not the case? Prone to wander, Lord, I feel it. Prone to leave the God I love. An old songwriter knew and understood, yeah, if we're part of it, we're going to participate. And what are we going to participate in? We're going to participate in the 5 I wills of Satan, which many people are familiar with.
Do that. Go ahead, rattle them off.
Well, you've got, I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend into heaven. I will ascend above the heights of the cloud, and I will be like the Most High. It's all about the ascension of Satan, the apotheosis, if you will, of Satan, to become as God. It was the same lie from the Eden. You will be like gods, was the lie to Adam and Eve. And Satan has never ceased wanting to be as God. So everything in this system is designed to elevate Satan, to elevate that Antichrist, to elevate anything except Christ as king. But I'll tell you a little secret. Because of the founding of this nation, and I can't speak for any other nation because I'm like you, I was born here. There exist documents that literally are the reason that America has been so blessed. I'm surprised that judgment hasn't come quicker.
Good things?
Good things.
Good things. Are you talking about Thomas Jefferson and people?
I'm talking before Thomas Jefferson.
Oh, before.
I'm talking in Connecticut.
I see.
The
Mayflower folks had a lot of things right.
The Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, referred to as the very first Constitution in the United States, says we are forming this body politic for the preservation of the gospel and Jesus the Christ, our King, whom we presently serve.
Well, that would be the government. Of course, we're not going to have any part of that in our government because that's the godly government.
Right. And we still were holding on to some of that, though, by the time our Constitution, as we understand it, was written, because it says we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and we have certain unalienable rights given to us by our Creator. I'm paraphrasing.
And this is a bit of a rabbit trail, but they even tried communism all the way back then. I've read the journal entries where they decided to share alike and everything would be equal. But what happens when you do that? They're going to try this in New York City now, and they're going to discover it's not going to work. But they tried. Somebody wrote it very well in the journals, is that there was the worker people, and then there was the lazy people who just wanted to live off everybody else. And that's making everybody go crazy out there right now because people are learning that 42 million people or something are getting everything taken care of for them. No wonder things are difficult, and then that makes people angry at those people, and then we're being drugged into a culture war where the have and have-nots are going to be pitted against each other. And
what changed that is when they began to, every man, every home had to have its own land, and they were responsible for that land and responsible for feeding their family. It's no more a commune. Now you have your land, you're responsible. That's when things changed in America, and we came to the Republic, and we came to
And charity used to be so different. I don't know this president. If we had Glitchy McBoltface online right now, I'd ask him. But one time there was in the early stages of America, there was a huge disaster in Texas where thousands of people were died. It was a flood of some kind and homeless. And it was before they had the welfare state. And someone was like, Mr. President, are you going to send aid to Texas to help with all these people? And he just says, "Oh, I'm sorry, that's not the government's responsibility. Are you as a Christian family? Yes, go help them on site and send food and send money. That's what everybody we're supposed to do, is help our brothers in need. It is not the government's place to step in and provide charity. That's the tax. We're taking people's tax dollars. We can't divert that." Oh my goodness, have things changed?
Oh,
Whoa.
yeah, because
we're a little off the rails, as we like to say. Go ahead.
That same mindset, all of the churches have registered with the system as a 501c3. And if you actually read that document, you are registered. And when you hear these pastors say, "Well, I'll keep preaching this from this pulpit and they can't stop." If you're a 501c3, you agreed to the terms and conditions of that. And yes, they can.
Yep.
There's
clergy response team. That's probably... Carter, this is probably a conspiracy theory you've never even heard of, but that's where you are. Certain clergies with the biggest mega churches are called to Washington, D.C., and they have to respond the way Washington. So when they do the big pull the pin on this system, they're going to make sure that the biggest conservative groups and mega churches, know exactly what to say, and tell everybody to obey the martial law, the curfews. Oh, goodness.
And from there, you get into actual land ownership, the way it used to be. That's some of the things that are going on in discussion groups, making sure your children are not part of an asset to a corporation, so that if they want to send family services in and say, "Well, you're teaching your children about Jesus, or you're homeschooling, we're going to have to take your children out of here." You don't want that child to be owned by them, so that they have no compelling interest. It's all about title, use, and interest. What we're trying to do is separate from them so the title, use, and interest belongs to our king, and you are the administrator of that title, use, and interest as the overseer of your house. And there is a way to do it that is godly, appropriate, and
legal.
Lawful.
Yeah.
I don't even say legal, because legal and lawful are not the same thing.
Ooh, I don't know. Do you want to get into that? No, let's not get into that. That's cool, though. So Randy, what is the aha moment for folks when you've got them gathered in a meeting room or they're online listening to the C2K report? What's the aha moment? What makes people wake up and usually take action when they realize that this is going wrong and they could need? What makes them take action? Let's tell everybody out there so that they really do click and follow up to find out more.
That's really different for everybody. For some, it's coming to the realization that, and this is a hard realization to come to, wow, my country's not what I thought it was. My government is not what I thought it was. We're not a republic. It is a corporation providing government services.
A corporation providing government services. That's what we're in.
Some of those services they provide well, but because they're a corporation, they're not under the Constitution. They're under their own corporate bylaws. In fact, it happened in 1871 under the Organic Act of 1871, and then by 1925, there were people, that were saying, maybe this ain't such a great idea. So that corporation was then chartered in perpetuity in 1925.
I like that word, Randy, perpetuity.
For some, it's the discovery, the history. If you look back to in 1776, year we're all familiar with, Declaration of Independence. Yeah, it's also when the American Illuminati was organized.
Coincidentally.
Aha.
Yes, the Illuminati.
And they have, when you begin to discover that is replete through all of our history, all of the organizations, the Columbian Lodge in New York City, it was established in 1785. There were 15 lodges in the 13 colonies of this Illuminati. And their goals have been published for eons, and they are the abolition of all ordered government, the abolition of private property, the abolition of inheritance, and that's a big thing because we are joint heirs with Jesus Christ. So the abolition of inheritance, this plays in two realms, the earthly realm and in the heavenly realm. There are courts in heaven. You're well aware of that. And
I've appealed to those courts before.
Absolutely.
They've saved my skin a few times.
So the abolition of patriotism, the abolition of all religion, the abolition of the family, marriage, morality, and the education of children, and the creation of a world government. That's what was established in 1776 under the American Illuminati. And for some people, that's the point, like, wow, that's where we're at. They did it.
Yeah, well, I think and I think the final card they might play, and you guys can check out our other Geisinger Unfiltered episodes, the alien deception, is I would not be surprised if they have them come after a time of intense turmoil, 10 years of economic meltdown to try to weaken the patriots, try to level as much of the current structure as we have so they can build the new world order, and who will be on the scene? It could be them. They're preparing us for alien quote unquote disclosure, and with the bald engineers from Prometheus that seed lifeless worlds. And imagine if one of them comes on the scene and says, this is how we created you. We created you a long time ago. We're the engineers and we're the space engineers, and we created you and we can prove it. And we lived for 500 years. And how would you like to live that long too? And we can fix your DNA right now by mixing our seed with your seed. And then all of a sudden, I'm trying to think of how many people would have faith in the good old time religions at that point. Oh, wow, my parents were lying to me. This is all a fairy tale, this creation, Garden of Eden, follow me and obey my laws and I'll bless you. No, it's like the space guys made us a long time ago. There's evidence. It's all right here. And then they'll be in the system of the beast and all the answers. Who will believe in the old time religions at that point? And that will be the final card where he elevates himself as God. Literally, a head messenger guy could say, I am the guy that invented you. We're the Space Brothers. And so now he takes the place of God, right? And I guess people will worship him and his image.
And that didn't just happen accidentally. No, that was well planned. And you see the enemy in this clash of two kingdoms is willing to play the long game. So they've been preparing our minds for acceptance of the alien savior for a very, very long time. It goes back to Darwinism even. It goes back to
it's funny. You kind of think Elon Musk is going to be alive when this all goes down, but he might just be one more pawn we might be 300 years out from this. I know most people listening to this do not see us even making it 20 more years, but that's what they were saying in the 70s and the 1960s and stuff, where they thought our good friend Eric Vimont, if we can get him to listen to this show, said that he was so geared up in the 80s. He thought for sure the end times was going to be 1988 or whatever. And here we are. And I don't blame him. I was part of all of those groups too. That was just like, how can we make it longer? Well, we were talking on another episode. Boy, I really got to digress, but we do that here on Geisinger Unfiltered, that John's vision on Patmos of the end of the world in Revelation is that the image is made, a statue is made, and he causes it to speak, right? And we're thinking, what if that's the Optimus robot from Elon Musk, or his 3 generations from now, that like literally if I'm John and it's 2,000 years ago and I'm on an island in a cave and someone makes a lifelike silicone robot that's perfect, aren't I making an image and then causing it to speak, giving it the ability to speak?
Haven't we been doing that for quite some time already? Call it CGI and AI. Are there not AI actors that aren't even in existence? There's no creativity anymore. You just ask AI to do it for you.
It's a good thing Glitchy's in power down mode. He might be offended now.
But yeah, we have given an image voice for a very long time. They played the long game. We said, oh, this is great technology. Let's fund the technology. Let's fund the technology.
Can you imagine, John, seeing these things being built? It's a statue, and now it's talking. And here we are. We're about ready. Elon Musk says the Optimus robot is going to be the biggest thing ever, even over cell phones. Everybody will have them. And this is what we have shows like this and interviews like this, as we're telling people, you've got to get prepared, because the system is coming where everybody has a robot. Everybody has... Glitchy, we have him so that he's pretty passive. He can't do that much right now. I'm not gonna get ones that their hands can turn into knives or anything. Right. Anyways, all right. So Randy, this has been enlightening. Again, C2K report. People can go on, and I think they're going to be enlightened. We can't go into some things on here because we want to keep the episode up, and someday I'm going to have a subscription service. I'll have you back, and we can say anything we want on there. And believe me, that episode will be chock full, and we don't have to be careful with what we say. But how would you close us out? What's something that you would tell people out there to give them the last word on this, what they need to do or think?
Well, it's very, very hard to throw enough teasers out there in a single podcast. I've done many conference presentations the same way, and it's like there's too much. There's too much. What do I need to say that's going to spark something in someone's mind to say, I need to look into this deeper? Because that's what you're going to have to do. You will have to look into it deeper. You will have to test my words and see if what I'm saying is true or not.
But we can tease people by saying it has something to do, at least part of it. There's lots of different elements, but it's the all caps name that they have. It is the straw man, so to speak, and taking control of that lawfully is part of that teaser. We can say that, please, you have to do that. And when people start to see that that contract and that they're a traded commodity and they're all caps entity, and that they can do something about that.
They can. And those who have already have come together, as you described it, in community. We have a large community all over the United States, also in Canada, Nova Scotia. There are people in the UK who I have been talking to.
I bet they want to get out.
So we're coming together in a community that we're calling the Holy Nation of God. And there are other entities out there. I hate to use the word entity. There are other organizations. Let's use that word. There are other organizations out there that use that same name. But we are a peculiar people, a royal priesthood, and a holy nation. And as we sat together discussing those things, it's like, where is the holy nation? Maybe we're supposed to populate that holy nation. So we are literal ambassadors of Christ with a federal ID number that provides a certain status, recognizing us as ambassadors of Christ, not ambassadors of some other nation. The Bible is true. We are ambassadors. The Bible is true. We can be a holy nation. The Bible is true. There is a priesthood. You, as the overseer of your house, are responsible as the priest of your house under a threshold covenant. What will enter my house and what will go out of my house? Am I teaching my children and they're rising up and they're lying down and they're coming in and they're going out? We have shirked our responsibility, and because of such, it will become a liability for us when we stand before God in judgment. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. So thank you, Randy, for coming on. Everybody out there, thanks for joining us today. Like, subscribe, share, comment down below. Have you tried to be a patriot or part of a movement that soured, that didn't go well, and you're disenchanted? Put those comments below. Say what you did, what's not working, what you want to do, or disagree and agree with us. We just thank you very much for joining Randy Conway and I today. C2kreport.com. Get started. Thank you.